Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take another look at Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX. Now look, I know I've done my video about Mewtwo and Mew, and I'm not even terribly sorry about it. Because you see, there is so much going on with this card that to try and cover everything in one video would be folly. To be fair, in trying to cover it in two videos, I think I'm taking on too difficult a task. But we need to talk about it in the expanded format. Now, I believe that this will be the best Tag Team GX we've got. But I think in the expanded format, it goes from, whoa, that looks good, to really? Yeah, there are a couple of cards that get a little bit dumb. We'll get to them in a moment. Just first, before we start, there are two kind of important cards that people have brought up to me that I do want to address. First of all, Power Plant. We did mention this in the previous video. I mean, look, Power Plant is a pretty hard counter to it. The thing is, it doesn't matter, because on your turn, you use Mewtwo's ability, and you decide what stadium's in play. You can play a Faber to get rid of it. You can play your own stadium. It really doesn't matter. You are using the ability when you attack on your turn, so just replace it. Yeah, your opponent can turn off your ability to use whatever attacks of GXs in your discard pile or on your bench you like, but only on their turn. When it comes to your turn, it's over to you. And we should mention that's what Mewtwo Mew does. It's got a GX attack that heals all your Pokemon, but really, it copies any GX Pokemon on your bench or in your discard pile. I don't care about Power Plant, to a degree, in this regard. Because basically, either your opponent turns it off on your turn, and it doesn't matter, or you didn't have a counter for Power Plant on your turn, and that's kind of on you. The other card we need to mention here is Jirachi. And you see, here, I do care about Power Plant. So Jirachi GX's ability basically ignores Psychic Weakness. So what you want to do is you want to play Jirachi so that your Mewtwo and Mew has no weakness. It seems so good. But Power Plant turns off Jirachi. And the problem is, Jirachi's ability doesn't matter on your turn, it matters on your opponent's turn. So I looked at the new Aegislash there a few days ago, and the new Aegislash can get a one-hit KO here. Oh, but Jirachi takes away your weakness. Yes, it does. You're absolutely correct. But the problem is, Jirachi's ability is important on your opponent's turn when they're attacking. So they can play a Power Plant, turn off Jirachi's ability, get a one-hit KO on Mewtwo and Mew. That's a bit of a problem. I don't care about Power Plant in terms of turning off Mewtwo and Mew, but I do care about it in terms of turning off Jirachi, and given that Jirachi's got 160 HP, will be KO'd by Pikarom on the bench, etc., using the residual damage from their GX attack where they hit 170 to the bench, yeah. I'm not all in on Jirachi with Mewtwo and Mew. But in the expanded format, I am, and there's a few cards we need to mention. But one of the most important cards we've got in the expanded format is Dimension Valley. Incidentally, you need to have a stadium to counter Power Plant. This will be it. Because you see, what Dimension Valley does is it reduces the attack cost of each of your Psychic Pokemon by 1 colourless energy. And remember, I've already told you that Mewtwo and Mew copy the attacks of any GX Pokemon on your bench or in your discard pile. But that's not strictly true. Because with a Dimension Valley in play, you don't just copy the attacks of any of your Pokemon, you copy the attacks cheaper. And this can make a phenomenal difference, and maybe the best way to really show this is with Reshiram and Charizard. Because you see, the main attack of Reshiram and Charizard allows you to do 230 damage, that's a lot incidentally, for 4 energy. 3 fire, 1 colourless. And you've got Welder. And Welder's not specific to fire Pokemon, just fire energy. So you can use Welder to attach 2 fire energy to a Mewtwo and Mew, exactly like you can a Reshiram and Charizard. That's not a problem. So you get your 2 energy, you draw 3 cards, you can attach an energy for the turn, and then you kind of hit a wall. That's 3 energy. Reshiram and Charizard needs 4 energy. And sure, you can muck around with stuff like Lieutenant Surge, and that'll work sometimes. And sure, you can get the energy on over the course of a couple of turns, but it gets awkward. Well, in comes Mewtwo and Mew. Because Mewtwo and Mew doesn't pay fire, colourless, it just pays a free fire because Dimension Valley takes away the colourless requirement. So now, Welder and attachment for the turn and you're off. This becomes a faster version of Reshiram and Charizard. Now you've also got the other issue of not having the same weakness. Frostlass is a phenomenal counter for Reshiram and Charizard. KOs them for 1 energy. Won't get Mewtwo. Now look, by the same token, you could look at the expanded format and go Pumpkaboo. But if you're really worried about Pumpkaboo, you can attack with Reshiram and Charizard. That's not a problem. And you can keep playing around with this. So you could go for something like Celebi and Venusaur. Again, the different weakness is important, because Reshiram and Charizard get a very easy one-hit KO on Celebi and Venusaur, not so on Mewtwo and Mew. So now all of a sudden you're sitting there, and you're doing, well, depends how much energy you've got on. But really we're looking at 2 grass, 2 colourless, 150. Well, now all of a sudden, Mewtwo and Mew, it's grass, colourless, because you're taking away one of the colourless with Dimension Valley. But of course, you're a little bit faster in the expanded format. You've got Max Elixir. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck, find a basic energy attached to your Pokemon. Now look, any Tag Team GX can use this, they're all basics. But then if we look at Celebi and Venusaur, they're really reliant on double colourless energy. Really, in order to get this going as fast as you want. But with Mewtwo and Mew, you can take away the double colourless energy, and now all of a sudden you're relying more on basic energy, and oh look, when you're relying on basic energy, Max Elixir becomes a whole heap better. And the other card I really like in Expanded is Battle Compressor. You see, Battle Compressor discards free cards from your deck. Any free cards. And the thing is that Mewtwo and Mew can use the attacks of any GX in your discard pile. And it doesn't need to be a basic. It can be any GX at all in your discard pile. So you can use something like Gardevoir GX, get it in the discard. Now you will need 1 fairy energy, but after that you can just pile as many energy on as you like and just go smashing. But you can also play around here with something like Blaziken. I've got fire Pokemon on the brain, ladies and gentlemen. I really like Blaziken GX. The problem is, generally speaking, it's a stage 2, and it's just a bit too much, especially when you've got stuff like Reshiram and Charizard running around. It's hard to justify it, if I'm honest with you. But it does 210 for 2 fire, 1 colourless energy. Except we know we're using Dimension Valley, so we're taking away the colourless requirement, and now all of a sudden it does 210 damage for 2 fire energy. Well, that's a little bit cheaper. And I've already mentioned we've got Welder. So now you can play a Welder, get the energy on, use Explosive Kick, and then put your energy for the turn onto something else. Now, one thing that is a bit sad is that you cannot use Blacksmith for Mewtwo and Mew. That is specifically for fire Pokemon. But we got Welder, and I think Welder's, it's not any worse, I don't think, if I'm honest with you. Not when we've got stuff like Fiery Flint in order to search them out. I think we're doing all right here. Bearing in mind, in the expanded format, we've got Professor's Letter, so you're going to be able to search out that fire energy nice and quickly. But one of the Pokemon that really intrigues me in the expanded format here is Taurus Gx. You see, Taurus Gx has got 2 attacks that I'm concerned about. 2 colourless energy, Rage, 20 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. And then Mad Ball, 30 damage times the number of damage counters on this Pokemon. You see, you've got 270 HP. And 270 HP is a lot, ladies and gentlemen. It's a huge amount. Which means you're unlikely to be one-hit KO'd. I mean, something like a Pikachu and Zekrom comes in, they're doing 150. That's not that close, ladies and gentlemen. It's really not that close. But you can now copy Tauros, and now you're not doing 150, you're doing 180. Or if you use Mad Bull, you're doing 450. And it's all for a single colourless energy, because you got Dimension Valley. And that's why Mewtwo and Mew is so dumb and expanded. Yeah, we got stuff like Night March running around. That's going to suck. But you can always use these other Pokemon. The fact of the matter is, between Battle Compressor to just put a whole heap of Pokemon in your discard pile, and Dimension Valley to use any of those Pokemon, unless they've got an entirely coloured attack cost, for cheaper than the actual Pokemon can, we are just absolutely loving this. We're in a situation where we can just put 5 or 6 different GXs in the discard pile, and if you get lots of energy on, you copy Gardevoir's attack. Or you put 2 energy on and copy Blaziken's attack, but then your opponent does enough to do a bunch but not enough to KO you, and you copy Tauros' attack. And every single one of these gets a little bit cheaper. Not Gardevoir's, unfortunately, because that depends on how much energy is on you. Boo, hiss, etc. I think Mewtwo Mew is probably going to go down as the best tag team GX. But in expanded with all of these extra tricks, it's just ridiculous. And I've only scratched the surface here. There's so many more avenues I can go down, so many more tag team GXs, and indeed non-tag team GXs, that I could start telling you about and using as examples, but we haven't got all day. This is a phenomenal card, and I think you should all be pretty gosh darned excited. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is amazing, and I do not think it is the last time we're going to talk about this card on this channel. So now, I'd like to know what you think. Tell me which GXs you want to be copying with Mewtwo and Mew. Tell me how good you think it is. Tell me if you think I'm going a little bit over the top in my love. Go nuts, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.